You're listening to Coffee and Sports from Wire to Wire Sports Network on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, happy Wednesday, sir.
Happy Wednesday, partner, and everybody out there joining us.
Mo, we are going to jump all over the place this morning, and we are going to start with college football. Mo, there was recently I believe it was Baylor. They're not able to compete in a bowl game, Mo, because they don't got players, because they lost all of their competitive starters to the transfer portal. So as a result, what they are left with, according to them, is a football team that simply would be, quote, non-competitive if they were to try to field a team for the bowl game. Now, you look at another team that gets some national attention in Colorado with Coach Prime, where they're not going nowhere. They don't leave. That's what Coach Prime says, Mo. We don't leave. Coach Prime also says we play in bowl games. We don't take games off. Mo, is this simply a situation where it's obviously with the portal, you're always going to have students leaving. Like
Right.
that, it's the nature of the beast. If you're going to allow them to leave, if you're going to allow them the flexibility to move from school to school, then there's always going to be students who take advantage of it. I mean, look at Quinn Ewers from Texas right now. He has a choice to make. Does he want to enter the NFL draft, where he's currently being projected to be the 5th or 6th best quarterback in the draft? Or he's literally getting $4 to $6 million offers from 4 other schools to come back and play another year of college football, at which point he would have to enter the portal to do that. So obviously, Mo, with the portal, there's always going to be player movement. So have we reached a point in college football where we need to stop complaining about the portal, and because it's just part of the game? And it's part of what we deal with. And should it be as simple as, well, if your program was better, if students wanted to play for you, if your coaching was better, they would stay? Is it that simple? Because Colorado doesn't have an issue. Coach Prime said we don't leave. And guess what, Mo? They don't leave. So is it an issue in college football? Is it not an issue in college football? Is it a team-by-team issue in college football? Because obviously, if you're building a program and you make it to a bowl game, and then your school can't compete in the bowl game because you lost 18 players in the portal, and you can't even field near the team that qualified for the bowl game, that's an issue. Like that sucks. Why would you put forth a team that looks nothing like the team that worked the entire season to earn the spot in the bowl? I get it. Like, sure, could Baylor have come up with enough players to dress and put something on the field? I'm sure they could have, Mo. I'm sure they could have figured it out. But at the same time, if that's a shell of the team that even qualified for the game, what are we doing? Is there a way to make it not happen until after the bowl games? Like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I know that you and I are not knee deep in college football, but it seems to me like there has to be a way where we're not taking away bowl games essentially from teams because so many people are going into the transfer portal. There has to be an easier way to make this work, at least from that situation. I'm not saying kids are going to stay, because they're not. You're not going to fix that problem. But we can't even get the bowl game in?
I think that's the frustration, right? But like you said, are you going to complain about it? Because this is where you're at in college football. And you asked a bigger question. How do you solve it? Do you trust the NCAA to solve it? Like, they don't really have a history of solving problems. They're not known as problem solvers. has to be a way to where the portal doesn't kick in till after the bowls, right? Wouldn't that make better sense?
You would think.
Right, where teams can be whole, and the players that are already on your roster will participate in the bowls and whatever they want to do after the fact, because of the portal, then they do it that way. I mean, to me, if there's a simple solution, that's the simple solution. No one goes anywhere or can go anywhere till after the bowl games or bowl season. That's where I would go to solve that problem. But again, the NCAA, the thing that's most common about them is they don't appear to use a lot of common sense. So I'm not banking on them to come up with a really simple solution.
I mean, Gene just mentioned in the chat that Penn State, who, by the way, is in the college football playoff, they lost their backup quarterback. Like, you even have playoff, like, teams who are vying for the national championship are losing players in the portal. It's just wild to me. It seems like something where there could be an easy fix to it if you wanted there to be. But like you said, Mo, part of that is the fact that the NCAA is the one making these rules and regulations. And they've really shown us over the years, Mo, they got a grasp on these things.
Yeah.
So good for them. Mo, news came out yesterday. The Lakers are unlikely to pursue Butler, Ingram, or Levine as far as potential trade targets. Those are three of the biggest names that are already being thrown around that could be moved before the trade deadline this season. Any surprise that internally they're saying none of those three for us?
No, it doesn't shock me at all. Jimmy Butler, I'm not. What would you have to give up to get a Jimmy Butler? And Jimmy Butler's 36 years old, and is constantly injured all the time. I'm not sure what he would do for you long term. Brandon Ingram was already a Laker. We clearly didn't want him before because we wanted AD. He's a better version of himself. But does Brandon Ingram make the Lakers a title contender? Nope. Zach LaVine? Nope. I wouldn't go after none of the three of them because they wouldn't change our fortunes. And in the bigger picture, like I said before, I'm not sure that the Lakers front office biggest priority is winning basketball games. I think their biggest priority is very similar to Dallas Cowboys, staying relevant, staying in the news, staying on TV, selling out. I really think that Jeannie is content with just riding out the LeBron James era, watching LeBron continue to add to his incredible resume and stat line and not win games, not meaningful games anyway. And I disagree with that stance. And I'm one of those people. I'm not blaming LeBron in any way for the Lakers' fortunes. I'm just pointing out the obvious. If he and AD are not part of the solution, you need to move on from them. It's that simple. If they're not part of your solution, then you need to move on for them and make moves towards the future. This is going to be this is going to end badly if Jeannie does what she's known for doing, riding until the wheels go off. LeBron's going to retire. You're going to have an older Anthony Davis as your centerpiece, and you're going to be a lottery team.
Mo, what do you make of the report that if the Lakers do decide to trade LeBron James at some point, then Bronny needs to be a part of that deal as well?
Yeah, he should go with his pops. I'm good. I'm good with that, man. Go with your pops and see if the next franchise values you as much. I don't know. I don't have any use for him. He can go with his dad. He good.
As a Laker fan, Mo's like, well, we ain't starting him. If
right.
LeBron's not there, get him out.
Right. He plays garbage minutes. So I'm like, what's the benefit? We think about this. We value Max Christie and some of these other guys over what Bronny could contribute. So yeah, if LeBron gets traded, I'm sure he'll put it in his contract. Like, well, Bronny comes with me, and I'm like, I'm good with that. Go ahead.
Take them with you. Mo, there's a brand new all-star game format in the NBA. Let me break it down for you, sir. It is going to be a mini tournament with 4 teams and 3 games. 24 NBA all-star selections will be divided evenly into 3 8-player teams. The 4th team is the Castrol Rising Stars champion. Honorary team general managers, TNT analyst Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and Candace Parker. Barkley, O'Neal, and Smith draft their team rosters from a pool of 24 NBA All-Star selections. Parker is the GM of the Castro Rising Stars champion. 2 teams meet in one semifinal game, that is game 1, and remaining 2 teams meet in the other, which is game 2. The winning teams from game 1 and game 2 advance to face each other in the championship, which is game 3. The winner of each game is the first team to reach or surpass 40 points.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it. I really think they're doing too much.
Too much, right? Too much.
Can we agree that it's really just as simple as, can you find a way to motivate the players to actually compete hard, right? That's really what it comes down to. Breaking them down into these little teams, I don't really think that makes a big difference. And maybe the most interesting part of this is that the rising stars are going to be included in this, because these are the young guys, right? I think the young guys will come out and play hard and try to compete against the older guys. They might, if they were to make it to the final, they might make somebody like play hard, but I don't think they'll make it to the final. I think they'll get the doors blown off of them. But I don't think this ultimately changes anything. This is a different time in the NBA where a lot of these guys make business decisions and they're more concerned with their brand than they are competing. And a lot of them are like, it's about maintenance, right? Like when it's All-Star weekend, they're thinking this is a vacation, man. I'm not trying to go for broke on All-Star weekend. And look, I'm not against older veterans taking that stance, but some of the younger stars, I'd like to see them get out there and compete. I think that Adam Silver's grasping at straws with this, though, because he's already tried different formats. Remember, it was he had captains, and LeBron picked a team, and Giannis picked a team. And I didn't even think that was a bad idea that you mixed it up and it wasn't just East versus West. I thought that was interesting, but they didn't compete then either. I don't know how you can incentivize them to make them want to compete.
Well, why not just get rid of the game? Still have All-Star weekend. Still acknowledge your all-stars. So have a little ceremony, welcome in the all-stars, run off their accolades, qualifying for his, 15th all-star, whatever it is. And then have the weekend be the skills competitions. Really hype up the slam dunk competition. Put some actual money into that. 5 million, 6 million, I don't care. Give it a number. Give it something to entice people to want to participate. Really hype up the 3-point shooting competition. Really take those skills competitions, get some money involved there, so some of the other players that would be on the fence about doing it would actually want to come and do it, and then make that your All-Star weekend. You're never going to get a competitive game. No matter what you do, the game itself will never be competitive because they don't want to get hurt. They don't care. The winning, losing, it means nothing to them. Some of them don't even want to be in it at all because just the up and down the floor, they don't feel like doing it. And some of them, and to each their own, but some of them can't even get the competitive juices going because they know it's not a competition. So for some of these players, just the idea of the whole pony show of you bringing us out here and we're going to play a game for however long, and it's going to be, 189 to 215. And
right.
Like, why? Like, it's never going to be a real game. So if it's never going to be a real game, then why not just scrap the game? Still acknowledge that they're considered all-stars and hype up the things that people actually tune in for that weekend and see if you can, find a new ceiling for those things.
I actually think this is an interesting idea. I like the idea of acknowledging everybody that makes the all-star team. Maybe do like a little mini docu thing on each individual player, right? Highlighting their season, something of that narrative, and really highlight the 3-point shot, the slam dunk competition, the skills competition. I think is a good idea. Maybe you can incentivize that into getting some of the bigger names involved, because that'll be that's always exciting if you can get some of the bigger names involved. I like that idea a lot more than all these different types of tournaments and things of the nature that Silver and company are trying, the game has lost interest because the players have lost interest in playing. Like you said, they're not interested in competing in it. Then do away with the game for a while. And I say for a while because if you do away with it for a while, guess what? There might become a demand for it. It comes back. There's growing interest. Do it that way. Take it away and then see what the fans say. Because right now the game it's unwatchable, the All-Star game, because it's really just a long layup and dunk line, right? The scores are insane. Guys are literally helping guys out, getting the dunks they want or getting the angles they want. I don't want to see that. I do like the idea of focusing on All-Star that first part of All-Star Weekend. Make that the biggest part of All-Star Weekend and incentivize those guys. Maybe you can get Steph and Sabrina and Caitlin and Dame Lillard or somebody else to do a 2 versus 2 3-point shootout. Like, I'm here for that. That would be entertaining to me because all 4 of those are great shooters. Do something like that would bring people in.
And it's almost similar to what we just saw last night, and they've been doing this for a handful of years now. Again, I'm not a golf person, so I don't know how long we've been doing this. But for a handful of years now, golf has been doing this with these once-a-year special golf events. And sometimes they involve a celebrity, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just 2 good golfers. They just did one last night. Last night it was Koepka, DeChambeau, McIlroy, and Scheffler. Basically the 4 best golfers in the world right now, teaming up and having a showdown. And it is probably going to be one of the highest rated golf events of the year. And there was some big money on the line. It was the Crypto.com showdown, and it was showcasing the 4 best golfers in the world right now. They've done it. They've paired off with celebrities before, like Brady did it one year. As Brady and Manning did it one year, and they were mic'd up, and that was hilarious because they were going back and forth at each other. Like, you find different ways to bring people into the one event. Stop calling it the All-Star game. Call it All-Star Weekend. Some years, there might be an All-Star game. Other years, there won't be an All-Star game. Right. Some years, it might be, Steph and Caitlin versus somebody else in Sabrina. Like, how are you telling me, Mo, if at All-Star Weekend in 2025, it was NBA player and Caitlin versus NBA player and Angel? That's not money? That's not money right there?
Oh, that's money times 10.
A 2-on-2 exhibition, like 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Like, it's not a full game. Like, pick up basketball on the playground, 12-minute game, 2-on-2, make it happen. That's not money? That's the main event right there. That is the main event of your 2025 All-Star Weekend, booked. Signed, sealed, delivered. Pay the ladies some money because, that they deserve it. And you don't think the gentlemen aren't going to line up for that? They'll line up. They'll partner. You'll easily find someone to partner with Angel and someone to partner with Caitlin.
I can tell you right now, Steph would be interested right away. LaMelo Ball is close with Angel. I can see that happening. He's another guy that can shoot from distance. Like, that is appealing. That's entertaining. That would bring me in. I would rather watch that than the All-Star game.
Right. And you could come up with something along those lines every year. And if you can't, you do it every other year. And then every other year, it's you have a loaded slam dunk competition. That's the main event. Like, there's so many different ways this can go where you're not playing an All-Star game. And when you're not playing an All-Star game, Mo, and now you're offering, one of the top tier players in the league, hey, listen, you could be the main event of All-Star Weekend. We got this thing for you. There's going to be a little check involved. Now it sounds a lot more appealing than, hey, we're going to bring all of you together. No one's going to play defense. No one really cares. It's basically going to be a 2-hour snooze fest.
Right.
A lot more appealing. Sounds a lot more appealing. All right, Mo, we gotta get a call into the NBA. We got this. We're gonna.
I like that.
We're gonna fix this because it's just nonsense right now. Mo, Giannis wins the NBA Cup. over the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's talk about two things here. First, let's talk about the NBA Cup. Do you feel that it was as successful this year as it was last year?
I don't know if it was more successful. I think last year, because it was brand new, it was a new thing. Last year was bigger. It was more of an event, but I think it still was interesting. I think it's kind of compelling. Now, obviously, if you watch the game became a blowout late third quarter. The Bucks they basically just mauled Oklahoma City. They were just too physical for them on both ends of the floor. But I thought it was interesting. That, and again, the Emirates Cup more entertaining than the All-Star game. They actually do compete. So I enjoyed it, and good for Giannis. The Bucks got off to such a horrendous start. We were talking about what they were going to do in terms of trades, and now it looks like they found a solid rotation. And look at them; they just won the Emirates Cup. Look, by the way, for all those Bucks fans out there, I'm not trying to kill your joy, but the Lakers won the Emirates Cup last year. It didn't do anything for the rest of our season. So I'm just saying, I hope you have better luck than we had.
Well, and that's the next question, because you've probably already heard it this morning, Mo. You know what, Bucks fan, we're back, baby. This is it. We're back on track. NBA championship, Eastern Conference Finals. Here we come. Mo, are the Bucks back on track for a title?
I think they're competitive. I still think the favorites are the defending champions. I still think that Cleveland has been very impressive, and they've sustained what they started early in the year. I think Milwaukee has a shot. Look, if you've got a great player, a transcendent player like Giannis, you got a puncher's chance. The same way I believe that in the Western Conference, even though they're not the best team, because you have Joker, when you've got somebody like that, you've got a chance. But I don't think Milwaukee has enough to get into the finals, because I do think against the better teams, their flaws get exposed more. They're still old, they're still slow, and I do think that they don't have a lot of shooting. So I think they're back in terms of them being a playoff contender. I don't think they're a title contender.
So they're back to being prime, old and slow.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Mint. They're mint.
All
They're
right. Mint, old and slow.
I like that.
Mo, Michael Vick got himself a head coaching job. Michael Vick is the brand new head coach for Norfolk State. I love this, by the way. I love former NFL players getting a chance to coach in college. Obviously, people are going to look at this and go, no, who? Norfolk? Doesn't matter. You got to start somewhere. First-time players to coaches are not getting jobs at Alabama. That's not the way that works.
Right.
Let's not pretend that it is, because it isn't. They have to start building up their coaching resumes somewhere. Deion Sanders did not start at a big school, and you could argue he's still not at a huge school. So first of all, that's amazing for Mike Vick. If that's his passion now, and he wants to become a head coach, the fact that he was able to go through the process and a team wants to take a chance on him, that is awesome. Number two, and people aren't going to talk about this, Mo, this is amazing for that school, because you are going to get players that are now coming to this school specifically to play for Coach Vick. You are going to get quarterbacks that you may not have had access to before, because they want to play for Coach Vick, because they might think, well, I'm a lefty, or, well, I'm pretty athletic. I kind of got a little Mike Vick in me. Who better to untap that and refine that potentially than the guy himself? Now, are they going to be getting 5-star recruits? Probably not. But if you have access to any players that you didn't have access to before, that is better for your program. So I think this is a terrific move all the way around. Normally, Mo, we would never be talking about Norfolk State. So they're already getting talked about. That's great. It's great for Mike Vick professionally. So that's great. And it's great for the kids and the future of this team, because they're going to be getting things they probably weren't going to be getting before which is also great. So all around from me, Mo, this is awesome.
No, I love it for the school. I love it for Deion Sanders, or not, I'm sorry, Deion Sanders, Mike Vick. The opportunity to be a head coach. And you're right. I think that Mike Vick still has the kind of cachet where people are going to go, people, their parents, the kids' parents were fans of Mike Vick. They're going to be drawn to, we want you to go be under Coach Vick. And I like the idea that he's going to start in a school like this, build up in a school like this. No, maybe you don't get 5-star recruits right away, but I think they will come as the team and the program get better, as the team and the program get more recognition. And not to mention, look, I don't know what's in Norfolk State's war chest, but whatever NIL money they can put together, that could be another draw. And I'm sure Mike Vick will use all the tools that he has. But yeah, I think it's a win all the way around for college football for Mike Vick. I'm excited to see him go through this process.
I didn't realize it was even this bad. Did you know that over the last 5 games, Kirk Cousins has 1 touchdown and 9 interceptions?
Well, I didn't know that, but I did know this. Watching the last game they played, Atlanta knows it because they were like, you know what, Kirk? Just hand the ball off. Just hand what I don't know if you watched that game, but what they did to Kirk Cousins, that is the ultimate. We have no confidence in you at all. Like they what he did was less than a game manager. Like on obvious passing situations, they ran the football. Like that they literally played not to lose. I don't know how Kirk Cousins survives this. If he could turn it around and he could just be himself and play well and they win, that'd be one thing. But if they're going to use him the way they used him Sunday going forward, they're basically telling him it's over.
Well, Mo, it's over this morning. Kirk Cousins has been benched by the Atlanta Falcons. Michael Penix Jr. will be making his first NFL start this weekend. It's been a disaster. I don't have a better way to look at it. If you are a fan of the Atlanta Falcons, if you are a fan of Kirk Cousins, for the money that he got, and I know he was coming off the injury, I understand all of that, but for the money that he was given, you are looking at a situation. The team is 7-7. They're still contending for a playoff spot. They are 1 game behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with 3 games to go this season with the division on the line. This isn't a situation, Mo, where Atlanta has pulled the plug because they're out of playoff contention and they're like, well, we might as well see what we got with Michael right now, and then we'll make some decisions going into next season. No, this is literally we think we can make the playoffs, but we don't think we can make it with you. So we're going to give the rookie the job for the next 3 weeks and see, 1, can he lead us to the playoffs? Which I'm telling you right now, Kirk, if he does, that's the final nail. I mean, the coffin's basically already shut, but I think you might be able to push it up and crack it open a little bit if Michael comes in there and goes 0-3 and he looks just as bad as you did. Maybe there's a slimmer of hope that you might, compete for the starting job next season. If this kid comes in here, Mo, and plays good football and puts points on the board and starts utilizing the weapons on this team, and they go 2-1 or 3-0 down the stretch, that's it. I don't care what Kirk is paid. I don't care what Kirk is owed. That's it. Mo, they drafted this quarterback because they thought he could be the future of the franchise.
Correct.
After signing Kirk Cousins to the deal they signed him to, before seeing Kirk Cousins play 1 game, they said to themselves, well, we can't let this kid go. This kid could be here for the next 10, 12, 15 years. We think this could be our guy. So they drafted him, and they got beat up for it. And I thought they got beat up kind of unfairly, because if you think he's the guy, why let him go just because you have a guy there already? Didn't make sense to me, Mo. And you agreed. Didn't make sense. Now, would you have done it? Maybe not. Would I have done it? Maybe not. But if you truly believed he was the guy, then we agreed you don't let him go. Well, we're about to find out if he's the guy. He has 3 games They're one game out in the playoff race behind the division leading Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if he can lead them to the playoffs, I don't care what they do in the playoffs, because 3 weeks ago, we didn't think this team was going anywhere because of the way Kirk Cousins was playing. If you look at the remaining schedule, they don't have the Bucs on it. So they are going to need some help from Tampa Bay. But Mo, listen to this schedule. Home against the Giants, on the road against the Commanders, home against the Panthers.
All 3 winnable games.
All 3 winnable games. Your toughest game is going to be game 2 against Washington on the road.
Correct.
They should be able to win game 1 at home. That's your build confidence game. That is the figure out what he can and cannot do, figure out what plays did and did not work, and literally craft the perfect game plan going into game 2 against Washington, because that will be your toughest game of this 3-game stretch. You win that game, you're a Panthers home victory away from finishing the season 3-0, getting to double-digit wins, and then just hoping that there's a path to the playoffs for you after that. Even if there isn't, you finish the season double-digit wins. Your rookie quarterback went 3-0 down the stretch with basically the playoffs on the line every week. And Kirk Cousins, it was great knowing you, my friend. You're a backup next year? You're not starting, but I would imagine you're cut because they can't pay you that money and keep you on the roster, right, Mo? They got to let him go.
Depending on how much dead money that is, yeah, I guess they got to let him go. But then again, look at Cleveland. They're not going to let Deshaun go. So
that's
and he's not going to be starting. So I'm just saying, it really comes down to what kind of cap hit it is. But yeah, I think you nailed it. I would go a step further. I think if Michael Penix plays well, and I'm not talking about he lights it up numbers wise, but let's just say he plays good, clean football, and doesn't turn the ball over. What if they go 2-1 and they don't go double digits? I still think that's it for Kirk Cousins. I think he's done. And look, I've always thought Kirk Cousins was a good quarterback. I'm not talking about elite of the elite, but I always thought he was a good quarterback. The way he's looked the last few weeks, and then what they did, like I said, Sunday, that was tough to watch. And I'm just saying, just as a fan of the game, that you could see what they were doing to him, that they were literally saying, like, we don't trust you. And look, you told me something that I didn't know because I didn't follow that closely. Like, as I spoke, I had no clue that he'd already been benched. But yeah, I mean, the way that they called that football game, they might as well have benched him then.
So here is the math for Kirk Cousins via Adam Schefter. If the Falcons were to cut Kirk Cousins prior to the start of the 2025 league year, they would have $65 million in dead money. If they were to trade him, the $25.7 million base salary guarantee would transfer over to the acquiring team. So then the Falcons would just be responsible for 37.5 of what's left over, and that would be their dead money. Mo, I don't know what team is going to take on $27.5 million in a trade for Kirk Cousins. Sitting here this morning right now, pending injury, I can't think of one. That's a lot of money.
I'm kidding. I said the Titans, but I don't.
Well, isn't that where Aaron Rodgers might be playing?
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Don't forget about that guy.
And you and I both know Kirk Cousins probably still has some football in him, but that money, that's a lot of money. I don't see anybody trading for that. I don't think that's going to happen.
And by the way, the breakup of that $65 million would be $40 million in dead money for 2025 and $25 in dead money for 2026. The third option, Mo, and probably the most ideal, would be finding that trade suitor. By dealing him, the Falcons would still be on the hook for 27.5, but like I said, their dead cap charge drops to 37.5. You had to know if you were Atlanta. Excuse me, Mo. When you sign the quarterback to that money, even before you draft Michael, when you sign Kirk Cousins to that deal as an aging quarterback coming off the injury, and you're going through all the ways this could play out, there had to be somebody in the room that said, Well, what if he's not good year one? That had to be somewhere on the what if scenarios. And if it wasn't, shame on the room for not having this conversation previously. But even if it wasn't when you signed him, it had to have been a discussion after you drafted Michael Penix Jr. Because then the conversation should have been, well, what if we go to Michael year two? Because then again, your question is, what are we doing with Kirk Cousins? So, Mo, this isn't a dumpster fire of an organization. I have to imagine they at least somewhere in the echelon of people who make decisions, they've had this conversation before the season began or in the early onset of the season of if the wheels fall off here with Kirk, what do we think is the best way to move forward with him? So I'm sure they have a couple of ideas. If they're going to try to trade him, obviously some of that is out of their hands because who's going to take on the money? But as the season has progressed, Mo, I can't imagine that Atlanta is shocked to find themselves in this situation. So we will see what they ultimately decide to do with him. But Mo, if you're a Falcons fan, this is exciting. You are given the future, the keys to the car with 3 games to go, basically saying, young man, can you lead us to the promised land? Can you get us to the playoffs in 3 weeks? That's exciting if you're a Falcons fan.
Every game is a playoff game, right?
Every game.
Every game is a playoff game to try to get into the playoffs, and you're bringing in this highly touted rookie. By the way, I'm a big Michael Penix fan, and I was not one of the people that killed the Falcons for drafting him. They believed that he was the guy, and for me, that was good enough. Like they didn't do it by happenstance. They were like, we think down the road, this is the guy. You don't pass up on the guy. And like you said, now the guy gets the chance to prove what he can do. Like I said, I don't think you have to blow the doors off numbers wise, but if you can just play good, clean football and they win, I think Kirk Cousins will become one of the highest paid backups in NFL history.
Oh, except for,
Deshaun.
That guy.
That guy. I'm just going to start calling him that guy.
So I know they can't get into the penthouse, but do you think like there's like a little lunch like these backup quarterbacks that make all this money go to and just, like their little lunch club?
They just sit there and chop it up and go, well, at least we're still paid. Like,
still we get another bottle? We can afford it. I mean,
right. We have more money than the starters do. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas everyone else, they're at practice. They're playing this week. We got time on our hands. We hanging out.
Right. Yeah, it's a tough situation all the way around. And look, I wanted it to work out for Kirk Cousins. I thought in a perfect scenario, he would be the quarterback for Atlanta, lead them to the playoffs, maybe be the starter for the first couple of years. And then maybe in the third year or so of that deal, they start thinking about Penix getting playing time. I think that was the idea. And the reality is maybe it's the injury too. Let's not forget he had a serious injury that might still impact him. He might still be seeing shadows when it comes to that leg. It's just unfortunate. I rooted for him to do well in Atlanta because he's one of those guys that even though he's not one of the elite, Chris, you want to see him do well, right? He's one of those kind of guys, and it's tough. Like I rooted for Kurt. I rooted for Russ. At least Russ is having some success. Kurt, on the other hand, look where he's at now, like benched before this. Think about that. They're benching him, and they're in the playoff hunt. I just think that's the ultimate. We're done with you.
Teddy Bridgewater just won a state championship with his high school football team. He joined the coaching ranks this past season, led the high school that he was coaching to a state title. And now he is eyeing a comeback in the NFL. Okay. He's a good backup quarterback.
He is.
I don't think he's going to start anywhere. I don't think Teddy's going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. But I think he's a very serviceable backup quarterback. He's a guy that could win a game or two for you in the right situation. So I think he'll get a shot as a backup quarterback next season.
Look, one, congrats on him winning a state championship with his high school team, and two, Yeah, look, Teddy Bridgewater has always been a solid backup. I think some team will bring him in, work him out. He'll probably eventually end up with a job because and I know throughout an NFL season, quarterbacks drop left and right. So yeah, I think he's a capable backup. If he wants to come back, I have no doubt he'll make a roster.
Another quarterback change coming in Tennessee, Mo. Will Levis is supposedly, according to a report yesterday, heading to the bench, barring a surprise change of heart by the Tennessee Titans. Mo, is the Will Levis experiment done in Tennessee? Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, well, if that guy shows up, it's done, or maybe it's not done. I mean, it's not like I don't think Will Levis makes a lot of money. Maybe he just learns from Aaron Rodgers on the bench.
He's got that mayonnaise commercial,
right? Well, there you go. He's making that mayonnaise money. Yeah, I think he's done for now. I don't want. He's still young enough to worry. I'm not going to write the young man off. And you're right. I think Aaron Rodgers is not going to be a Jet next year. But I think Aaron Rodgers he still wants the opportunity to prove himself. So yeah, I can see Aaron Rodgers in Tennessee, Will Levis on the bench, and you go from there.
I think Rodgers has like 9 touchdowns and 1 interception over his last 4 games. Mo, is it possible he's finally getting healthy?
It could be that because he's played his best football, like you said, the last few games. He's looked like Aaron Rodgers. They just haven't won. But
I mean, he's moving. He's doing that the annoying Aaron Rodgers crap that I've hated him for so many years, where you think you have him sacked and he just takes like a little shuffle step, and then because he doesn't run, he just moves.
No,
so he never crosses the line of scrimmage. All his running is behind the line of scrimmage,
right?
And then he throws the dart down the field, and he's doing that again. He's been doing that for the past month. So
when he's moving like that, Chris, his pocket awareness is it's as good as anybody's. He slides to the left or right, and like you said, he's not a runner. He's just a master of extending plays, and then he launches a dime down the field. Maybe that's a lot of this too. Maybe his body's feeling better, his legs feeling better, and if he can take that momentum with him going into next season, he might have one more great season in him. I remember thinking that Brett Favre was done when he had the year in New York. He was awful. And then he went to Minnesota and he had one of the best seasons of his career. He had that left in him. So, yeah, I think it's very possible that Aaron Rodgers has a lot of good football left in him.
And maybe that's the key. Maybe if you're an older quarterback, you need some time in New York. You need the Jets to beat you down, and you need to find the juice again. And then whoever you go to after the Jets, that's where you get your one last punch at greatness before you ride off into the sunset. I don't know if he's going to find greatness in Tennessee, if that's where he ultimately ends up. But credit to Aaron Rodgers. He has looked good the last month. Patrick Mahomes is downplaying his high ankle sprain. He says he is a little sore, but it's nothing compared to the high ankle sprain that he had a couple of seasons ago. So it's not that big of a deal. Are you buying or selling his injury is not that big of a deal?
I'm selling that it's not that big. I think it's a big deal. It's especially a big deal because of the offensive line he has in front of him. Those guys, when it comes to pass blocking, more times than not, they shed like butter. If I'm Andy Reid, I really do think. I know you're worried about getting the number 1 seed. If nothing else, just rest him this week. They've got like some games that are almost literally like within days of each other, I believe, coming up.
They have three games in 12 days or something like that because of the Christmas Day game is in there. Like, right. and Patrick was already like side-eye complaining about this because he was talking about how the body can't recuperate in that amount of time, and which is right. Like, I'm not saying anything negative about Patrick Mahomes right now.
Right.
For a league that puts player safety at the forefront, having 3 games played in this short amount of time does seem a little counterproductive to player safety. But I digress. So yeah, they got a lot of games in a very short amount of time.
Look, Carson Wentz is a capable backup. with him, it's never about talent. I think with him, more times than not, it's just his presence in the locker room. For some reason, he tends to irritate everybody else in the locker room. But as a football player, I still think he's a capable quarterback. I'm playing Carson Wentz the next game, and then checking on Patrick to see if he's ready to go on the following game. But I think you have to think about the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is you need 15 as healthy as possible.
So they play December 21st, which is Saturday, at home against a playoff team, Houston. Then they play 4 days later on December 25th on the road in Pittsburgh on a Wednesday. And then they play January 5th, which is 10 days later in Denver to close out the season. So they essentially play 3 games in 2 weeks, 3 games in 14 days.
I would say the less physical game of those 3 would be the Texans.
And it's your home game too.
And I think that you can trust your defense. Even if Carson Wentz can't muster more than 10 or 13 points with the offense, your defense, I think, can turn over Stroud. I think your defense can shut down the Texans offense. I would start Carson Wentz.
And if you're looking at the standings, Buffalo is 11-3. They do hold the tiebreaker over the Chiefs, but the Chiefs do have a game to play with. The Chiefs are 13-1. So let's say you go out and you lose to Houston. I think the argument here, Mo, if you're the Chiefs or you're a Chiefs fan, is okay, well, if we lose to Houston, that's loss number 2. We think that Pittsburgh was probably going to be the biggest threat on our schedule because of their defense. If we lose to them, that's loss number 3, and now we basically lost number 1 seed to Buffalo. So I think that's where the concern is. So do you see a situation where they don't rest Mahomes the next 2 games, lock it up, and then rest him against the Broncos?
I mean, you could go that route because the Broncos, you could argue, has been playing the best football of the 3 teams recently. Their defense has been as good as anybody's the last few weeks.
And that would give them more time because you're essentially playing 2 games in a 5-day span, the 21st to the 25th. Mahomes plays both. If you win both, you've locked up the 1 seed, no matter what Buffalo does. They could technically lock up the 1 seed this weekend against Houston because they got 2 games on Buffalo. If Buffalo loses this week and they win, they lock up the 1 seed. But regardless, if they win their next 2 games, they lock up the 1 seed. Then it's 10 games to Denver. So you're 10 days. So you're giving him 10 days off. He doesn't play against Denver. Then you have the bye week because you're the number 1 seed. You're basically giving him like 3.5 weeks off at that point.
Look, that's got to be.
But that's another thing. That's a long time.
It is. But that's got to be what Andy Reid and Mahomes and company are thinking about. Like, we could go all in and
just do the next 2.
Right, and we can sew this up, and we can get you rest and then some. Like, we can get you plenty of rest, and some of the other veterans players can get some rest. Like, I that's a good strategy. I knowing Patrick Mahomes, his mindset, he's probably thinking the same thing. I'm playing through the next 2. I'm playing versus the Texans. I know how great the Steelers defense is, but I think our defense is going to slow down Russ and company. So I don't have to like put up 30 points. You're right. Get through the next 2. I think that's going to be the strategy.
Before we get out of here, Mo, last thing I want to talk about is Jason Kelce's comments this morning. Jason Kelce said that Chicago has to prove they belong in the NFL. This was said during the halftime of the Monday Night Football game between the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings, where Chicago was, I'll say it, they were inept offensively. They did not look good. They could not do anything against the Minnesota defense. But Mo, Chicago has to prove they belong in the NFL. That's deep. That's deep, Jason. What did Chicago do to you?
Yeah, he's throwing serious shots. Look, let's start with the obvious. Minnesota has a really good defense. And that Chicago Bears offense has looked inept against lesser defenses.
Fair.
So you go up against that defense, you're not gonna look very good. You want to see somebody confuse a quarterback? Flores he can confuse young quarterbacks. I think Jason maybe he regrets saying that, or maybe he doesn't, but
He doesn't.
I think it was definitely over the top to say they have to prove they deserve to be in the National Football League. I'm not gonna go that far. I like the words inept. Let's leave it at that. They've been inept. They've been underwhelming. Let's remember, a lot of people, Chris, remember this. A lot of people, not you, not me, but a lot of people said the Bears were going to make the playoffs this year.
Playoffs for the Bears.
A lot of people said that they're going to make the playoffs. And look, I was impressed with a lot of their offseason acquisitions. I thought, man, their offense is going to be nice. But you don't know because you are dealing with the unknown in a rookie quarterback. I don't know.
And their first 6 games were impressive, Mo.
Yeah, they were. But we also were concerned about the offensive line. And then as the season went on, the offensive line, they weren't much help for Caleb Williams. I'm just saying it's funny how we go from they're going to win at least 10 games to where they are now.
By the way, we haven't talked about this in a few weeks. Let me give you the updated stat tracker because this is the one thing you and I did agree on, Mo. We did agree the record was going to fall, that the Chicago Bears were finally going to have a 4,000-yard passer. Well, with 3 games to go, we are standing at 2,937 yards. Caleb would need to average about 350 or so yards a game over his last 3 games to hit 4,000. It's not happening.
It is not happening. The streak continues. Like
we would have lost money here. We would have lost money.
We would have lost a lot of money. Look, let me just remind everybody that in this current football era where we play 17 games, where the rules have changed to where everything favors the pass, that in this era, it's almost impossible to not throw for 4,000 yards. It really is. And he's not going to throw for 4,000 yards.
He's had 10 games this season where he has passed for 231 yards or less. 7 of those games he's passed for less than 200 yards. Not good, Mo. If this is supposed to be your franchise quarterback who is going to unlock offense like you've never seen in Chicago before.
This is true.
Not good at all.
And Chris, he's getting ready to face up with another new coach, right? Now he's getting ready to get married to another coach.
Right? That's right. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe it will be the change that, I mean, he's not bad.
No.
It's not like he's not talented. I don't know. It's just I would have lost a lot of money, Mo. I had a lot of money saying that I didn't think they were going to win more than 6 games.
I didn't either, but I thought it was a lock that he would throw for 400 because my mindset was like, they're not going to be very good, but he's going to be throwing the football late, right? He's going to put up numbers.
Garbage yards.
Right.
He can't even get those.
Right. How did you not get garbage yards?
Late in the game, the other team's just running the ball down their throats.
Yeah, I got that so wrong. And the thing is, he's not even close.
No.
I thought I got that so wrong.
No. Did you like the ice uniforms from Minnesota Monday night?
I thought they were interesting.
That's not I like them.
No, I don't think they should do that again.
Mo's not all in on the all white.
No, I'm not all in. I wasn't feeling that. That looked like something from a Marvel movie.
Get off Mo's yard, guys, with your fancy uniform.
It's not like that.
Get off his yard. Wear what you're supposed to wear.
It's a man's game. Come on.
Ridiculous white helmets. Who do you think you are? They should be purple. Mo, bring us to a close on a Wednesday, sir.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you check out all the content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Hey, guys, make sure you're coming back same time, same place tomorrow. We're going to break down all of the NFL games for this upcoming NFL week. We're going to make our picks and our predictions, and we are going to take a look at the updated standings in the NBA. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network, and we'll see all of you